to another video. So today I'll be doing part 2 video of the dynamics of markets. In the first video before this one for economics, I did dynamics of markets. Well, I only dealt with theories. I did perfect markets, I did imperfect markets, where I talked in detail about oligopoly, monopoly, and monopolistic competition. So you can check all that out. Now we are dealing with graphs, and you have to know these key concepts with regards to curves. Yes, economic curves, not graphs, but there are graphs and curves. Yes, both of them are covered. It's just that majority is economic curves. So you have to know the demand curve for an individual business and for an industry, and the supply curve of an individual business and demand curve of an industry, supply curve of the industry, and equilibrium of the industry. So those are the key concepts you should know so that you'll be able to answer true or false questions, match and one word questions. They heavily rely on you understanding different concepts. Now let's get into the video. We have curves. So we will be doing the long run revenue curves as they were discussed in grade 11 syllabus. You have to know them for grade 12. Now here we're going to be dealing with, the first one is total revenue. Total revenue, in this regard, it is the value of all the sales that have taken place. So revenue is sales. Revenue is income, right? So income, you are going to take the quantity produced, quantity that is available, multiply that quantity by the price of what? One item. Let's say you're selling apples and one apple is 3 rand and you have sold 50 apples. So you're going to say 3 rand times 50, and that will be your total revenue. Not the cost price, but the selling price. When you're talking about the price, you're talking the selling price, not the price that you bought the goods that you are selling for, but the profit, including profit, is the price. And then each line, the more quantities you sell, the more revenue you make. The total revenue line is that green one. Now, let's talk about marginal revenue. When you're talking about marginal revenue, refers to additional income received from selling one more unit. So marginal revenue is calculated as total revenue, which this on top is the total revenue. You take your total revenue is quantity times price, or price times quantity, and you divide that by quantity as well. In a perfect market, is represented by horizontal line that is the same as the price. So marginal revenue remains the same. It's a straight line. So we can say it's at 4, regardless of how many quantities that are there. And then we have an average revenue curve. This refers to the revenue end. So we're talking about the average of revenue end. We have 12 months. Normally, when you want to get an average, let's say you're going to add all your revenues or incomes that you got in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December, and then divide that by 12. That's average, to see what was the average income. So this is also average income, average revenue. Average revenue is total revenue. Is total revenue on top divided by quantity. So total revenue divided by quantity. You see, marginal revenue and average revenue are the same, are calculated exactly the same, and their graphs are the same. So now it is important to revise and understand the shapes of the following short run cost curves. So this is not a revenue curve, a short run cost curves. We have a total cost. In a business, in a factory, for instance, we have fixed costs and variable costs, right? Fixed costs are those that remain constant regardless of the number of quantities produced, like your rentals. Even if you produce more, your rent will remain the same, right? But with things like electricity, the more you produce, the more electricity you're going to pay. So in this example, electricity will be a variable cost and your rentals will be fixed costs. So it is the cost of all units produced, or is the sum of variable and fixed cost. So we say quantity multiplied by cost, right? Which cost is fixed cost plus variable cost. Now, the more quantities you produce, the higher the total cost. Let's talk about marginal cost. Refers to additional cost incurred to produce one more unit of a product. Well, how to calculate marginal cost is that you say total cost in the first curve that we did in this slide, and then you will divide that by quantity, right? Even the triangle says change in total cost over change in quantity. So marginal cost, you will start having higher cost, it goes down until a certain point, and then the slope starts going upwards again. Now we have average variable cost. With this one, marginal revenue and average revenue are the same, but marginal cost and average variable cost are not the same, right? So we calculate average variable cost by saying variable costs over quantity. So you see also it's high, the costs are high until it goes down a bit until a certain point, and it starts to go high again. And then we have average total cost. It refers to the cost per unit of production is equal to the total cost divided by the number of units produced. So the cost starts high, they go down to that slope and go slightly higher again. So that's average total cost. Please, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Invite your friends, comment, let us know in the comment section what videos you would like to see. So here you can be asked to use a graph to explain the effect on price of an individual producer if he increase or decrease his output supply. Now you will have this graph drawn. Now, the demand curve for the individual business is a horizontal line because he is a price taker. This is the perfect market. So we're dealing with perfect market. Use a graph to explain the effect on price of an individual producer if he increase or decrease his output supply. So this can also be an essay question, and you're asked to outline this graph. You will be asked maybe to explain what a perfect market, and then you are asked to use a graph to explain the effect on price of the individual producer if he increase or decrease his output supply. So the demand curve for individual business is a horizontal line because he is a price taker. So what is written on your left hand side is what you also have to include, right? To show the examiner that you understand what this graph means. So that the black highlighted horizontal line is the one that shows that the individual in the perfect market is a price taker. And if the individual producer increases its supply, the supply curve will shift from S to S1, right, towards the right. So the quantity starts at Q and the supply is at S, right? So it shifts to E1, towards the right to S1, if the producer increases its supply. And the quantity moves from quantity to quantity 1. At this point, the equilibrium quantity has increased from Q to Q1, but the equilibrium price remains at pi Q1. So whether you decrease or increase supply in the perfect market, the price remains the same. If the individual producer decrease its supply, if the individual producer decrease its supply, the supply curve will shift from S in the middle to S2, and the quantity will go to Q2. But can you see that price is the same through Q1, Q, and Q2? So price equals to average revenue equals to marginal revenue, what we just saw earlier on in this video. The equilibrium quantity has decreased, but the equilibrium price has remained constant at P1. So the individual producer is not able to influence the equilibrium or market price by manipulating its supply. Whether the supply in a perfect market decides to produce more or less, that does not mean they can up the price. It cannot be, because they are price takers.